The day it began, March 16th, 1968. A small farming village in Vietnam called My Lai wakes up like any other day. Families cook breakfast, kids play near the huts. Elderly villagers prepare for work in the fields. None of them knows this morning will change history forever. US soldiers from Charlie Company arrive, expecting to find enemy fighters. Their commanders told them this village was hiding Viet Cong. But when they entered, they found something else entirely. No weapons, no fighters, just unarmed civilians, women, children, elderly men, babies. And yet, instead of turning back, the soldiers opened fire. What followed became the worst civilian massacre carried out by American forces in the entire 20th century. But this was only the beginning. The slaughter, the troops went hut to hut. Entire families were gunned down. Some villagers tried to shield their children with their own bodies. It didn't matter. Bullets tore through them anyway. One ditch alone filled with more than 70 bodies. Witnesses later said women were dragged away and violated before being killed. People were bayoneted while still alive. Homes were burned. Livestock slaughtered for no reason at all. One soldier later admitted their orders were simple: destroy everything, leave nothing behind. Anyone still there was the enemy. Between 347 and 504 civilians were murdered that day, most of them women and kids. One survivor later said, "Everyone in my family was killed. They threw me into a ditch full of bodies. I was covered in blood and brains, but in the middle of all this horror, one man refused to stay silent. The pilot who stood up. Warrant Officer Hughes Thompson Jr. was flying a helicopter over the village when he saw something that shocked him. American soldiers shooting women, kids, unarmed civilians. He landed his helicopter between the troops and the villagers. Then, he gave his crew an order no one expected. If they keep shooting, open fire on them. Soldiers. Thompson personally helped survivors onto his helicopter and flew them to safety. He made multiple trips, saving dozens of lives. Without him, the death toll would have been even higher. But when he reported what he saw, the army ignored him. The truth was about to be buried. The cover-up, the military's first report, called My Lai a victory. They claimed 128 enemy fighters were killed. Officers congratulated the unit, but it was all a lie. Behind closed doors, commanders worked to hide what really happened. Reports were altered. Witnesses pressured. Then a former soldier named Ronald Riedenhauer started writing letters. He contacted politicians, journalists, anyone who would listen. Finally, an investigative reporter exposed the story. Photos surfaced. Women, babies, bodies in ditches. Once the public saw them, denial became impossible. The trial, 26 soldiers were charged. Only one was convicted, Lieutenant William Calley. He was found guilty of killing 22 villagers and sentenced to life in prison. But then President Nixon stepped in. Calley served just 3.5 years under house arrest. His commanding officer was acquitted. Most others walked free. No one higher up the chain was punished. For survivors, it felt like justice never came. The aftermath. Decades later, survivors still live with the trauma. Children who watched their families die grew up carrying those memories. Some still return to the site every year to mourn. The My Lai Massacre became a turning point. It exposed the dark side of war to the public. It changed how people viewed Vietnam. But for those who lived through it, no apology could ever undo what happened. And what happened that morning in 1968 is something history will never forget.